Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that it doesn't matter, because there's actually a huge difference. What's up everyone, my name is Rosendo, welcome back to my channel, and we are back with another video, and today we have a product review for you all. Again, for all you powerlifters watching this, I am a powerlifter myself, so there's going to be a lot of powerlifting content on this channel, although don't get me wrong, I definitely want to post a lot more kind of general fitness content down the line. We'll see kind of, when that is or what it is. But I definitely have a vision of this being a more kind of general fitness content channel. But today we have a specific powerlifting product review for you all. We're going to be talking about Deadlift Socks and specifically comparing two very popular brands, SBD and A7, because I know those are two very popular powerlifting brands, probably the most popular, at least as far as apparel goes. And I think this is going to be a really good product comparison for two main reasons. Number one, I think it's always nice to have product comparisons, especially if those videos don't exist out there. I'm not sure if they have, I actually haven't checked. But I think product comparison videos are always nice, so you can kind of get to know a little bit more about each product before you finally decide to buy one or both. And number two, there's actually a really big difference between both products, and I strongly think that it matters and that you know what the differences are, because most product comparisons kind of talk about, a few small differences, especially in something like apparel. We're talking about socks here. How different could they be? But I think that they're actually very different. I have both, and I think that's very important to know what the differences are and what purposes they serve so that you can make the informed purchase before buying a pair of Deadlift Socks. So let's get to comparing SBD versus A7 Deadlift Socks. Starting with the SBD Socks, this might be a slightly shorter video because there's not much I can say about each product. It's really just the differences that I want to highlight. But SBD Socks, pretty normal fit. They do the job. They come up pretty high, just below the knee. I haven't had any issues with quality. They're pretty thick. They feel pretty durable. They're a little bit hard to put on, but I feel like most Deadlift Socks are. They definitely come pretty thick under the foot and around the toes. Other than that, normal pair of Deadlift Socks. Again, I don't really want to talk too much about what each product offers because the differences is where it really matters. A7 Deadlift Socks. You can see they have a slightly different design. As for comparing design, which aren't the main differences, you can see that it has demand greatness on the top of the foot, which is pretty normal for A7 products. Definitely a little bit more comfortable. They feel like a regular pair of socks that are kind of pulled up a little bit higher. They're a little bit softer and a little bit less rugged than the SBD socks, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Other than that, you can see them right here. Not too much to go off of. Again, they get the job done, but it's the differences where it really matters. So SBD or A7, which pair should you get? There are, I think, two main differences between the products that I want to highlight in order for you guys to be able to make an informed purchase. Starting with the SBD sock, two main differences. Number one, the SBD sock has a lot more fabric and a lot more length from the ankle to above the knee. These socks just feel a lot longer and you can't really collapse them to the point where it looks like you're wearing normal socks. This fabric is pretty loose. It's meant to go around your calves. And if you wear them, it's gonna feel like that fabric is just there and you either have to pull it up, or if you pull it down, it's just gonna be folded up and bundled up near your ankle. You can't really pull these SBD socks down. You wear them for deadlifting, but when you pull them down, it looks like they're pulled down. You're gonna see the fabric bundled around your ankles or your calves or whatever. And you can't really get around wearing them outside of deadlifting because they can get a little bit uncomfortable. I wear them outside of deadlifting. I just kind of roll them down and they're there. They look strange, but that's about it. But that is a very big difference, is that these just feel longer. You can see the room they have around the calf, and they just feels like they're a little bit stretchier, and that fabric gets bundled up. Unlike the A7 sock, which you can pull down and collapse a little bit, which I'll talk about in a second. This fabric will kind of stay there. It's not going to go anywhere, and they can be pretty uncomfortable to wear when they're not pulled up completely. Difference number two. Like most SBD products, from what I've gathered, I don't own a lot of SBD and A7 products, the big things like knee sleeves or singlets. From what I've gathered, it seems like the trend is that SBD is a little bit more rugged, almost a little bit more tight, and A7 is a little bit more loose, a little bit more comfortable. That's definitely the case with the socks. Again, these SBD socks are kind of thick. They feel pretty cushioned. They feel, like they're rugged and they have pretty good quality to them. So they're not as comfortable as the A7 socks. They're just a little bit more rugged, but I do think that matters in durability, especially when you're pulling them up, you're dragging a barbell against them, you're washing them time and time again. I do think that in the long run, these are going to be a little bit more durable. I can't really prove that. I'll talk about the A7 socks in a second, but they just feel like they have a little bit better quality to them. For something that you're going to be pulling up, dragging a barbell against, I think they will last a very long time. Again, the trade-off is they're not as comfortable. They feel a little bit more rugged. They feel just a little bit thicker. So it definitely doesn't feel like you're wearing a normal pair of socks. But I do think that the trade-off is in durability, and I do think that these will last a long time. They've lasted me a long time. I probably got these almost over 2 years ago, and I really haven't had any problems with them. Now on to the A7 socks. Again, just two big differences I want to highlight. Number one, the fabric from the calf to the ankle can actually get stretched out quite a bit, and it kind of collapses and condenses really nicely. these feel like you're wearing normal socks. It feels like you're wearing socks that just kind of come up to around your calf, a little bit below your calf. And when you need to deadlift, you can pull them all the way up to below your knee. These do not feel that uncomfortable to wear when you're not deadlifting. You can kind of collapse them really nicely, and then they just feel like normal crew socks, the normal socks that come below the calf. For that reason, they're much more comfortable to wear outside of deadlifting. For example, if you're deadlifting and doing other lifts in the same day, or even if you're planning on wearing these out because you need to stop somewhere before you go to the gym, or you're going somewhere after the gym and you don't want to change socks, these are comfortable and you can get away with wearing them outside deadlift situations. The SBD socks, not so much. You'll see the fabric bundled around, and if you're wearing pants, they'll definitely get in the way. Versus you can definitely wear pants with these and they'll just feel like you're wearing normal socks because, again, you can pull them up when you're deadlifting and you can pretty much bundle them down when you're not deadlifting. Now, again, the second biggest difference between the A7 socks and the SBD socks are the quality. Like I said, from what I've gathered, SBD tends to be a little bit more rugged in its products. These are a lot softer and a lot comfortable. They feel like you're wearing actual socks. They're very soft, they're very nice to wear, and you can wear them with any pair of shoes like you would wear a normal pair of socks. That being said, I do think there's a big difference in durability between these socks and the other socks. Because you have to pull these up to get them below your knee, it almost feels like you're stretching them out quite a bit in order to get them to the height they need to be. And when you do that, it just feels like it's thinner, it feels like it's less durable, and it feels like over time it's not going to hold up as well as the SBD socks. And to prove my point, if you're not careful and you pull them up, with what I would say is a normal amount of force and not gently, if you pull them up gently, you might be fine. If you pull them up with a normal amount of force, you're going to start seeing kind of some tears in the socks. I've probably had these for just a little bit less than the SBD socks. Let's say I've had the SBD socks for 2 years. I might have had these for a year and a half or something. And already just from pulling them up, I haven't really noticed any wear and tear from actually deadlifting and rubbing the bar against my shins. But I have noticed that from the actual act of pulling them up and getting my fingers under the sock and really pulling them up over my calf, I have noticed they've started to stretch a little bit and I have noticed some tearing. Again, it's hard to say that if you're gentle with them, they'll last longer. It's definitely possible and it's almost likely that they'll last longer. But at the end of the day, they just don't feel as durable, and I do think that over time, they're not going to hold up as long as the SBD socks. But you guys can let me know what your experiences are with these socks, if you've had the same issues, or if you're very, very careful and they've lasted a long time. All right, and that is about it. Like I said, they're deadlift socks. They'll get the job done, but there are two main differences you want to keep in mind when choosing which one to purchase. Just to recap real quick, SBD socks, they're a little bit more rugged, they're a little bit stiffer. They're going to be less comfortable to wear when you're not deadlifting, but I do think that the ruggedness will mean they will last longer and they won't tear as easily. A7 socks, definitely a lot softer, definitely a lot more comfortable. You can wear them when you're not deadlifting like you would a normal pair of socks, and they don't look as awkward because you can bundle them down really nicely so they look like a normal pair of crew socks. But that being said, I do think they take a hit in durability. I do think that they're going to wear out a lot quicker than the SBD socks. And at the very least, I can say that if you're not careful with them, they can be torn somewhat easily at the top when you're pulling them up. So that's one of the things you need to consider. Other than that, you guys are free to make your own purchases. I'm not going to recommend one over the other. I think they both have their time and their place for the differences I mentioned. I think maybe if you take care of the A7 socks a little bit more, they can last just as long as these. I don't know. If they don't, that's for you guys to decide. But even if they last the same amount of time, there are clear differences on how they feel and how it feels to wear them, especially when you're not deadlifting. So hopefully with that information, you guys can make the decision of what you guys prefer. All right, but that is about all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. If you guys own both pair of socks or either pair of socks, let me know what your experiences are. I'm especially interested if you guys own an A7 pair of deadlift socks. If you guys have also noticed that they're tearing a little bit easily, if you guys do feel like they might not be as durable as other pairs of deadlift socks. And let me know if you guys have had any issues with tearing or things like that. Or if it's your second pair and you guys thought maybe I'll be a little bit more careful with them, let me know how long they've lasted. Let me know how long they've gone without any tears. And let me know if you've had any issues in the quality or durability of the socks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But other than that, that is all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.